Okay, hi everyone again. Welcome to this session. My name is Bonaventure Ogeto. We've met on TikTok, on YouTube, on Twitter as well. Some of us have met on Instagram, but welcome to this session. We're going to talk about how to get started in tech. It's going to be quite an exciting and interesting session. If you have any questions that you want to ask, please do use the chat function on this meeting to ask any questions. And I know we all have an idea of what tech is. You've probably just interacted with tech in so many ways, and that is ideally what you want to talk about. Again, you'll notice that some of the things about or what you've believed about tech might be a little bit different from what you're used to, but nonetheless, we're going to define everything throughout the session. So okay, these are the learning outcomes for what you're going to be talking about today. By the end of this session, I want us to make sure that you're able to explain what tech is and why tech matters in any scenario, any situation, anywhere that you're involved in. Not everyone is using tech in the context of writing code. There are people who use tech, interact with tech in their workplaces, others, even through the devices that you work. We need to make sure that you understand why it is important and what tech itself is and what it means. We're also going to help everyone identify a career path and some of the core skills that you need for those specific career paths. We're going to set up just a simple beginner toolkit for you to get started, right? So what kind of installations do you need to make? What do you need to know? What resources do you need to use? You need to be able to build up personal learning systems by the end of this session as well. Again, this is why I'm asking everyone to make sure that they have their notes written down. And finally, you should be able to execute a 30-day practice plan with a lot of accountability involved along the way in that. Now, this is just images that I thought it would be fun for me to include them there. The first one here, I generated this with, I used ChatGPT actually. They have an image generation feature. So I used that to generate this one. This is just one of my favorite memes on the internet. I'm Root, and of course that's me right there. Yeah, just I thought I should include that there. Now, this is the mission and the vision that I have in everything that I'm doing. I'm sure you always notice that I post a lot of videos online. I talk about everything to do with tech. There's still a lot more that we need to cover. And the reason why I'm doing all this is because I'm on a mission to educate 1 million students in tech by 2030. It's an ambitious mission, but it's something that we must get to. Just a few statistics to give everyone here. It is projected that by 2030, there's going to be approximately 42% of the world young population is going to be from Africa. That is by 2030. It's literally less than 5 years away or 5 years from now. 42%. And according to the UN, that is going to be approximately 321 million young people are going to be from Africa. They're using an age range of between 15 and 24 to describe this metric. But if you go with the universal way that we describe young people up to the age of 35, then the numbers just get out of hand when you look at it like that. So there's that, which also means that about 4 out of 10 of every young person in the world is going to be from Africa. Now, that is a good thing because we're going to have a big workforce. But the problem with that is that we're not going to have, either we don't have enough infrastructure in place, enough resources, and enough people to help get these young people towards this highly technologically advanced world that we're getting to. AI is changing things exponentially. The growth of AI is something that will literally change your life overnight. AI has done that. Like ChatGPT has been around for about 3 years, right now, since 2022. So that's 3 years. For just 3 years, you can see that everyone is using AI. Now imagine what happens when the usage of AI goes just beyond ChatGPT. We need to make sure that we prepare everyone, our youth and everyone to get to that. So that's why I'm doing all this. That being said, let's dive into what we need to talk about today. What is tech and why should you care about tech at all? So there are many ways that you can define tech, but tech typically refers to the industry itself, the technology industry. And in the context with which most people use this, we usually talk about things to do with computing, right? So there's building software, there's building applications, there's working with a lot of data and building IT systems all through. There's still a bit of hardware that is involved in this, but uh, generally we talk about software and data most of these times. And technology is ingrained in every aspect of our lives. Like right now, of course, we're using tech, the Wi-Fi that you use, we're joining this meeting here with Google Meet. All these things is because of tech itself. And because of this, we need to understand what this means. Just from the early life, when tech started, this was way before the second World War, because the World War, of course, advanced the rate at which tech grew. But before that, they were just, imagine the device that you have, your simple smartphone. If you had that in the 1940s, 1950s, that would have been the most powerful computer in the world at the time. And right now, it is just something that everyone walks around with in their pockets. So every industry uses tech. Think of finance, think of healthcare, think of entertainment, think of education. Every industry that you're involved in, it has a bit of technology that is involved in that. Now, this also is really good for us because it means that there are so many careers that are involved in tech, and these careers can be or are incredibly rewarding if you look at it. Opportunities are all over. You go and look for them, others will come and find you. Tech roles generally have competitive salaries, or they're known for the competitive salaries they provide. That is why you'll notice anyone that you know who is writing code and they're already working somewhere there, they're doing well for themselves. Others way better, but they're doing relatively well compared to the average person in any place or any field that you're involved in. This makes it important for us. So the financial perks are good. That is usually one of the major motivations that brings people there. And there's nothing wrong with being motivated by money. But even more importantly, it lets you solve a lot of real world problems. I remember when I started writing code, that was in 2017 is when I got introduced to writing code, late 2017 after I joined uni. And what fascinated me at the time is how much I could be able to build by just writing code. I didn't know at the time, I didn't even know that people got paid for just writing code. All I knew that is that this is a cool thing. I can be able to think of an idea and just execute that idea quickly. That is one thing that got me interested before I got to understand, oh, wait, there's a lot of money in tech that, you can go and pick up here and there. So it allows you to build creative solutions. Any problem that you have, you talk about it. One of the things I always mention is for anyone who is in tech, because you're ideally a problem solver, right? For you to, the kinds of projects that you should be doing for your portfolio should be projects that are solving real world problems. And it doesn't have to be something, out of the ordinary. It's just, you just look at your surrounding. What problems do exist in your community that you can solve with tech, right? It can be something as simple as the church that you go to has lots of events, lots of functions, but the church itself does not have a platform where they can list everything, right? See what the church is doing, its charity works, right? What events happen here and there, all this information. You can build a very simple website to just solve that problem alone, right? That is a problem you're solving. You're not inventing how websites are created, but you're taking that solution of building websites and applying it in the fields and the places where you're involved in. So these, all of these things are quite exciting for me, and I believe they're quite exciting for many of you. Technology itself is going to always be in a constant motion or constant change. I'm sure you all understand this. So whenever you're getting into tech, one thing that you have to keep in mind is that this is going to be a lifelong learning journey that you're getting into. Tech changes overnight. I mentioned this earlier on. You're going to be in a lifelong journey. So every day you wake up in the morning, you always have to be learning something. It's one of the things that I also like about this. There are many careers that people get involved in. You learn something in school or somewhere, and then that is the only thing you'll be doing for the next 30, 40, 50 years. Honestly, that is sad, in my opinion. It's pretty boring to be doing the same thing over and over again, but tech gives you a chance to do a lot of things at the same time, right? So, for example, right now, AI is being applied in almost every manner of ways, and it is like there are always new features, new capabilities of AI that are coming every single day. That is something that you always have to be on toes, right? If the moment you even the moment you don't upskill whenever you're in tech, if you don't upskill for 6 months, or actually there's going to get to 12 months. If you spend 6 months without learning something new, even if you're still working, you're already redundant or almost redundant. If you continue like that, within a year and a half, you won't have a job. That is how rapid tech changes. But it's also exciting because you're always learning something new, and that is ideally what rather how our brains do function. So there's always new programming languages, new tools, new innovations that are always coming up that you need to be aware of. Now, now that we understand what tech is, why it is important in that it solves all the problems that you have. Look at all the technological devices that you're using. I mean, this mission to educate people about tech, I'm able to do that because of tech itself again, right? Everyone right now has a smartphone, so my message can reach almost everyone in the world, if not everyone, right? So those are some of the reasons why tech is important. For you to get into tech, I'm going to introduce you to some resources first, and then we're going to just look at a few other things later. So one of the great things about tech itself is the number of resources that you're going to find online. There are a number of free learning resources that you're going to find. I mean, if you go to my YouTube channel, there are so many of these. And this means that you can begin your coding and computer science journey right now without spending even a single cent until the end, and you're going to be good. And I'll use myself as an example. When I started writing code, of course, I didn't have any money to afford to go pay for a boot camp and all that. But I had access to YouTube. We had free Wi-Fi at school. So I used to use the free Wi-Fi to go and learn through YouTube, Googling a lot of things out to be able to learn. We didn't have AI at the time. So right now with AI, I mean, things are a lot cheaper and a lot faster in the way that you do it. So you don't need to go and pay for something. There's a video that I posted a few hours ago on TikTok for those who saw it. And I was talking about how there's a price that you always have to pay, right? And there's usually two types of people. There's that person who is disciplined and who knows that they don't have any other way out. They have to go and spend, or rather use those free resources to learn as much as they can for them to build a career because they can't afford to pay for things. And that requires a lot of discipline. Then there's that person who maybe you are someone who is working, especially those people who are switching their careers. In that case, you have your time is limited in what you have, or you have a family, but you still want to get into tech. You don't have enough time to, start figuring things out by yourself. So if you're that kind of a person who doesn't have the time, then you have to be willing to spend money, of course, pay someone to mentor you, buy a course somewhere, all these things. But if you're someone who you don't have all these time constraints, but you also have a lot of discipline, there are so many free resources online that you can use. Myself, everything that I know about tech has been through free learning resources. I've never paid for boot camp. I've never paid for all these other things. But this is something that, of course, I was forced to do that because I didn't have any money to afford all these other things. Which sometimes I always think that if I had that money initially, then I could have accelerated the rate at which I got into tech a lot faster. I would have gotten into tech a lot faster. But the point here is that there are so many resources that you'll find online. And these are some of the resources that I've basically curated for you here. So when you talk of resources, the first resource that I always recommend is where is it here? I don't know where I wrote it. Yeah, it's here. The Harvard CS50 intro course. So for anyone who is starting to get into tech, you're trying to figure your way around things, the first thing you should always look at is CS50. So CS50 has a course on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, search Harvard CS50, and it's multiple videos that I'm going to find. I'm going to share. Let me actually just go to YouTube right now, and I'm going to show you what those resources are. So you use YouTube. It's going to give you all the introductory resources that you need. Introduction to computer science, introduction. It also conditions your mind to start thinking about a lot of things in a problem solving mindset rather. Okay, let's search here Harvard CS50, and I'm going to share this tab. Okay, I believe you can all see it. So if you go to Harvard CS50, it is this one here that has, they're using a cat as their profile picture. And if you go to videos, there's all these things, all these videos that are going to find. Currently, there's an ongoing series, which is what I also recommend, which shows you how to use AI and how they use AI at Harvard to train a lot of people. You can go to their playlists and then you'll look for a playlist that fits you well, but pick any playlist, honestly. Pick, for example, the 2024 playlist or this 2025 lectures playlist. Again, you can see it all here. So this is what I recommend for anyone who is starting from zero. If you're starting from zero, go ahead and use this playlist. It's going to introduce you to a lot of things. It just conditions you to understand how things are done in tech generally and how we solve problems. So it also has, Harvard also has our website. I'll give you that as an assignment to go ahead and look at. It also has our website with resources that that help you get started. You're going to read a lot of things. There are projects and assignments that you do. Then you submit, they're assessed, and you can do them again. You get access to literally what people at Harvard learn in their first year or second year when they're doing computer science. So this is something that is important. There's the guy that you just saw there is known as Professor David Malan. He's a really good lecturer. I'd say he's the one who introduced me to and made me fall in love with programming generally. Now, apart from CS50, we have Free Code Camp. So there's Free Code Camp, and Free Code Camp is also one of those resources that they're like a gold mine that are going to find online. Again, it's a free platform. So if you want to learn web development, if you want to learn JavaScript, data analysis in Python, and there are also many other resources that they provide. Free Code Camp is one of those that you should use. They have a website, freecodecamp.org. They also have a YouTube channel known as Free Code Camp. This is a good resource. It gives you a clear roadmap from the beginning. Now, what I love the most about Free Code Camp is that it gives you assessments, the assessments and questions and projects that you do. And then those projects are, of course, graded. Those projects are the ones that I love the most about it. I always recommend that for you to use, Free Code Camp, you need to be able to, for you to use Free Code Camp, use it as a way to test yourself, right? You can use all the other resources. For example, if you want to learn how to build websites, you'll go to YouTube, find a resource that is going to teach you how to build websites. Then once you found that resource on how to build websites, you can go through the entire videos, learn all those things. And now when you want to assess whether you've understood what you're learning, that is when you move over to Free Code Camp. It has resources and assessments all through that you can build multiple projects. By the time you're done using the Free Code Camp resources, you'll be at a position where you understand everything, I guess, or at least most of the things that you've done, you can be able to retain all that information. Okay, now there's Free Code Camp, then we have Frontend Mentor. Frontend Mentor is also a really good resource. This is, again, one of the resources that I used to use mainly when I was starting to learn, especially JavaScript. Then there's Exasym as well. Again, all these are free resources that you can use. Now, if you're a student, one of the resources that you get access to, if you're a university student, one of the resources you get access to is GitHub Students Pack. GitHub Students Pack is, I can just Google it here and show you what it looks like. Students Pack. So GitHub Students Pack is usually offered to all university students. If you're a university student, use your email. Of course, you have to go through a simple verification process. Then you're given to this. This is, look at this tab here. You will go ahead and you will sign up for the Students Pack. It gives you access to resources that if you are to pay for them yourself, you probably pay thousands and thousands of dollars for you to get access to these resources. You'll get access to domains. You get access to using Copilot Pro whenever you're building. Copilot is what we use. It's like an AI assistant. It's an AI assistant for coding. Anyone who is using a Windows machine, a lot of Microsoft products, you've already interacted with a version of Copilot. The initial version of Copilot was just for helping people in writing code, but you're going to find all these like thousands of resources here that you can use, and you get access to paid resources for free whenever you use the GitHub Students Pack. Then there's all these others now, Frontend Mentor that I've mentioned. Whenever you want to talk about documentation, these are another resource. Everything that you learn in technology or in programming, let me just say in programming in general, every resource that you use, those resources have documentations. A documentation is a written, think of it as a written, okay, I want to say a written document. I guess you understand what I mean here. But it's a written resource that explains to you how, for example, if it is a programming language, it will explain to you how that programming language works. If it is anything, think of it even as the manual. Like whenever you buy anything, if you buy a phone, if you buy a fridge, any of the electronic devices that you buy, it always comes with a manual that shows you how to use that thing. So that is what a documentation is in tech as well. So this website is called devdocs.io. It also gives you access to that. It gives you access to documentations for everything. So you'll just go there and pick a documentation for something that you want. There's also JavaScript cheat sheets. If you just Google it, you're going to find exactly what this means, JavaScript cheat sheet. Now, this is what I'm showing you here, mostly is talking about web. It is never only about web. There are also many other resources that you'll find for example, if you want to learn data science, there's I'm going to share this later on for you to see. If you want to learn about data science, there are also resources for data science. For cybersecurity, there are also resources for all of these things. But initially, for anyone who is getting started, CS50 is what you need for you to get started. Then, of course, the most important thing as well is you need a community to help you in learning. For you to get a community to help you in learning, we have Stack Overflow community. So this is for those of us who started writing code before AI was around. Stack Overflow was the main place we used to go to get a lot of answers. If you're writing code and it doesn't work, you go to Stack Overflow. If you're trying to figure out a project, nothing makes sense, you go to Stack Overflow. It is still one of the best resources you'll find online, even way better than the AI docs that a lot of people are using. Then we of course have the Mentors Manual Discord server. If you haven't joined this, make sure that you do join. You can go there and interact with everyone there. Always, if you have a question, you just ask there. Someone is going to come up and help you solve that challenge that you're having. But community is very important. So there's online communities, but there's also physical communities. If you're a university student, again, you're going to find in universities, there's developer students clubs by Google, there's Microsoft students clubs. Just ask for those tech clubs that exist in your school. If you're not a student, there's also still communities outside of school. Most of them are going to be online, of course, including ours. You'll always find a number of communities online. But also, whenever you hear there's a tech event happening anywhere, make sure that you attend those events, because again, that is where you meet people who are going to challenge you in your learning and everything that you're doing. So that is on the resources. A little bit to add on these resources is helping you in building your portfolio. So I've talked about GitHub Students Pack. Then on GitHub as well, there's also GitHub itself. So there's github.com, of course. We usually use GitHub as a way to store our code. I want you to think of GitHub, for those who haven't used GitHub before, think of GitHub as think of it as even Instagram or even TikTok, right? Whenever you have your images, everything, you just post everything there. So like an online repository. If you ever want to have access to those images or documents again, you can always pull them and use them. Think of them as your Google Drive. Think of your GitHub as that. So it's an online repository for anything to do with code. So on GitHub, there's also a number of resources that you find there that are available for free, right? There's always going to be these resources that you can go ahead and use. I mean, I have some of my courses on GitHub available for free that you can go ahead and access. So github.com, those are, again, the other major resources that you need to make sure that you understand. Now, whenever you are getting into tech, I've talked about the resources, but even more importantly, you need to, everyone needs to understand, like, or everyone wants to know what resources can they use, right? What resources, and not really resources, but what kind of roles exist in tech, so that you can find out a role that works for you. This is one of the biggest challenges that a lot of people face when they are starting. You want to know what to do in tech, and because there's so much, you get pulled in all directions. You get overwhelmed and you don't understand what exactly should I pick up here. So again, that is totally normal whenever you are starting. But what you need to do is you need to keep on having momentum. So when you're not very sure about what is the specific career that you should pick in tech, in that case, I always advise people to focus on the fundamentals and understand them really well. For example, I talked about doing CS50 course. You make sure that you do that all the way to the end and understand it. Then pick a programming language. It always doesn't matter which specific programming language. You can pick, for example, Python or pick JavaScript, then understand it end to end. These programming languages, for example, Python, it is applicable everywhere. You can use Python to help in building websites. You can use it in data science. We use it in cybersecurity. A lot of these things do with AI. Python is the core language that is being used across all these things. So if, for example, if you don't understand, you just pick Python and you make sure to understand it end to end. Then with time, as you're trying to build more projects, you'll get to a zone where you know exactly what you need to do. But you don't have to have everything figured out whenever you're starting. Now, let's talk about some of these roles that are available in tech. I'll get to answer your questions later. For now, I just want us to go through everything. Then I'll check all the questions and address them. So like I've said, there's so many roles that are available in tech. You have so many career options that you can pick from, and then you can go ahead and pick one thing if you want to. Now, when you talk about all these roles being there, the other thing is you find someone is, I've seen a lot of people face these challenges before. So you find that someone wants to be, let's say someone wants to do cybersecurity, right? And then, but still they want to do software engineering. In that case, you find again, you have two conflicting careers or fields that you want to choose from. What you do when you're in that scenario is you pick one, you can pick just one. For example, let's say you pick software engineering. Then you just run with it, make sure that you understand everything to do with software engineering. Then there's a way that you can now integrate cybersecurity into what you're doing in software. For example, how do you start to learn how to keep information secure whenever you're writing your code, you learn web security, all these other things. You can easily integrate something later on when you feel like you've tried for so long, but you don't know what is the specific thing to do. Whenever you don't know what is the specific thing to do, you just pick one thing and do it end to end, right? Again, I'm one of those people who are always interested in a lot of things. So what I did is I actually started with just learning simple web development. I did web development, then I transitioned into doing software engineering because they're actually kind of the same as well, but there are a few differences. Transitioned into software engineering, make sure that I understand my craft really well. And then from there, I've been able to pick some of the other things easily because I already have one thing that I understand really well. This again speaks to what you talked about, breadth and depth in what you're doing. But let's look at some of these types of roles. So we have software engineering, or you can be a software developer, software engineering as well. So software developers are the people who are software engineers as well. The people who write code, and they're the ones that who write code that makes applications and a lot of the websites run. Think of the Google Mesh that we're using. Think of TikTok. Think of Instagram. The people who write code for all these applications to work. Those are software developers and software engineers. And it involves in, you're able to, of course, design. And we talk about design here, we don't even mean the visual design of how an application looks like, more like the architecture of that application. You always have to think of it. Think of, for example, when someone makes a simple post on Instagram, they'll open up their app, they'll go to post, they'll type in something. So you always have to think about this entire process and this journey. You have to design how you're going to handle the data and the information that you collect at every point. Then you always have to maintain this thing later on, right? So it's a highly creative and essential role in everything that we do. And I want you to focus on creativity. It's a highly creative role when you're doing software. You can build mobile apps, you can build enterprise softwares. Think of the softwares that these big companies use to manage a lot of the work and the data that they're doing. That is what they need. Software engineering also does apply even when you're dealing with data, right? Think of AI actually. And this is one of the reasons why I'm sure some of you have this question later on, but the question that, do I really need to learn software engineering with AI being around? One thing you have to understand is that AI is there we use, for example, Python to understand data, make sense of that data, and then all that. But beyond that data, you need to build the software that is going to, let's say, make this AI accessible to the world. You need a software engineer for that. So you don't be worried about, AI is going to take over this thing. AI is actually at a very infancy stages. We're nowhere near a point where AI is going to come and take over all our roles, right? it's changing exponentially, so you have to always upskill. But software engineering and software development is one of those foundational things that you need across everything, really. So there's that. Now, whenever you talk about a software developer, a software engineer, there are different aspects to it, right? There's someone who will be a front-end developer. A front-end developer is the one who, as you can see right now, we have all these interfaces that we're using. There's the interface on Google Meet, there's the interface on TikTok, any application that you open, any website. The beauty that you see around and how things move around on your page, that is the work of front-end developers or front-end engineers. They're the ones that build all these parts that we see and interact with. Then there are the guys that you never hear about, which no one ever even thinks about that much, and that is backend developers. So think of backend as the engine. Think of it as the engine that runs your application. The beauty that you see on our website or any application that you're using will not be there without a backend guy. The backend developer is the one who builds the server-side logic, the databases that are needed, the APIs that are needed. For APIs, think of an API as whenever you go into a restaurant, there's that waiter or waitress who gets your order, checks you the kitchen, gets prepared, and comes back to you. So APIs help in moving data across different aspects. That's usually where the core of an application is. We of course love what we see to be beautiful and all that, but backend is one of the most core things here. Now, there's backend, there's frontend, then there's full stack development. So a full stack developer is a person who can do both. Someone who can build a backend and then they can build a frontend as well. Whenever you're starting to learn, you can pick either of the two. You can start with frontend and then go and learn backend later. You can start with backend and then come and learn frontend later, so you can be a full stack developer. But you always need to, you always have to start somewhere. You can't learn both at the same time unless you already understand one of them really, really well. But if you enjoy a lot of problem solving, you love solving puzzles, you like being creative with the thing that you do, then software is the path that is going to help you get up on this really, really well and easily. Now, apart from software development, which you've talked about, there is data science, and AI. Everything around us is data. Like literally everything around us is data. One of the things that really surprises me is, not just surprises, but it's just something that it's good and it also disturbs me at the same time, is the amount of information that applications and software and a lot of the tools that we use collect from us. Like, I need to think of, let me use TikTok as an example, right? When you open TikTok, literally the moment you open it, TikTok is already collecting data about you, right? Like there's that video that you didn't even want to watch it, you saw it and then you just swiped through like really fast as you go. TikTok is literally recording all that information as the information that you consume. Like everything that you do, the amount of time that you spend watching a video, the amount of time you spend doing anything. And this does not only apply to TikTok, it applies to Facebook, it applies to Instagram, it applies to Google Meet, everything. There's so much data that is collected. And well, because there's so much data that is collected by all these things, and I want you to also think about data as even data that you collect from your business. If you're someone who is running a business, you have data that you collect from there. The data that you collect whenever let's say you're a student, all that information that you record about your classes, everything around that is basically data. At one point, you need to make sense of that data. That is where data science comes in. Data science helps us make sense of data, because there's this idea of cognitive load. Cognitive load is ideally how much information that you can consume at the same time. Because there's not that much information that you can consume at the same time, you need to find a simple way for you to process this information. But even if that is the case, there's just a level that you can't go beyond. So think about whenever you look at your surrounding, even right now, how much of the things that you see around you can you be able to process at the same time? Or when you're having a conversation, how many people can you talk to at the same time? How many things can you pay attention to at the same time? There's not that many. Even AI actually has the same challenge. It's about context windows. You've probably heard of it. You're going to hear about it as you study more about these things. But because there's so much information that we can't process, then data science comes in, and the AI, of course, is a part of that. It helps you process information a lot faster. If you're running a business and you're always collecting information about the people who, let's say, all the sales that you make. Let's say you run a kiosk and you sell milk. So you're going to have people coming in the morning to your kiosk. We want to buy milk. Then you always write down, person A came, they bought milk worth 50 shillings. Person B came, they bought milk worth 100 shillings. And you've been doing that for an entire year, right? Whenever you're doing that, of course, you want to understand how much of this information that you have is, how can it help you understand how your business is performing? But in all honesty, can our brains process that much information and make sense of it? They can't. So you build a simple a simple dashboard. You do just simple basic data analysis. You feed all this information into an Excel sheet, and you basically come up with graphs and bar charts and all that. They're going to show you, okay, in your business, you notice that every February of the year or every Monday, you have sales double what your normal days are. Or there is this product that sells a lot more than the other products that you use. That is how you're able to sell. I need to also think about, I know I'm spending too much time on this, but I hope we're all still following. I need to also think about supermarkets. Supermarkets literally collect a lot of data about you and their psychology. There's a reason why Carrefour, we all know Carrefour. There's a reason why Carrefour is performing as good as it performs. It's literally my favorite supermarket to go to, Carrefour and even Quickmart. But Quickmart still hasn't gotten to the level of Carrefour in terms of how they understand their customer psychology. There's a reason why whenever you walk into a Carrefour, the products are situated the way they are situated, right? You'll see how they even present the deals that they have. You go to Carrefour wanting to just buy some milk, you end up buying bread and even buying a car out of Carrefour. Like, you just end up buying some ridiculous things. You wanted to spend 1,000, but we end up spending 10,000 shillings. That is because of data. They're collecting data about you. Whenever you go even to, let's say, let me use an example of, let's say, sodas, right? You want to buy sodas from even a supermarket. These are the position where a soda is positioned is correlated to how many people buy that soda. That there's a reason why Coca-Cola always pops up the most whenever you go to any shop or any supermarket. And you always see that it is always located at the center of everything, right? It is there because they understand that your cognitive load, your brain is going to get that information. Anyway, I don't want to get into too many stories. That is the whole idea of data science. You collect data, you make sense of this data, then through that, you do something else. It is why whenever you have a conversation with even your friend about motorbikes, you start receiving ads online about motorbikes. You send a simple text or you just share a simple meme to your friend about cars, you start receiving ads about cars. It's literally data, all that. That is what data scientists do. If you want to learn how AI models like things like ChatGPT are built, you need to understand data science. Let's quickly talk about cybersecurity. You always have to stay safe online in anything that you do. You always have to stay safe online. So cybersecurity professionals are the ones that protect organizations from threats that are happening digitally. There's that Nigerian prince who has sent you a message and a link telling you, click on this, you do this. You've heard of this. Guys, mostly Indian scammers calling people, tell them, give me your social security number, your ID number, all these things. Then they end up scamming you. Now, with cybersecurity, you're able to understand how to deal with these kinds of people, how to stay safe online. There are many fields in cybersecurity. You can be a security analyst, you can be an ethical hacker, you can be a security engineer. There are so many of these things. But with cybersecurity, you need to stay safe online. With even AI, this is one of the fields that is in the rise, like really high rise, because a lot of people do not understand how AI, as much as it is beneficial, it is also a real threat when it comes to security. There's a reason why ChatGPT is adding these regulations whereby there's a different version of GPT for adults and a different version for kids because of there's all these mental health issues that do come up, but security is super important. Then you have DevSecOps and cloud. Just think of it as cloud, right? So we've talked about building applications. We've talked about data. We've talked about AI. We've talked about cybersecurity. The one thing that makes all of these things work is cloud computing and DevOps. So think of even data science, think of your websites, you have to host it somewhere. Like the Google Meet that we're using, the software is hosted somewhere. That is why we're all able to join here remotely from all over the world. The reason for this is because of cloud. So these are the people that build the infrastructure for a lot of the things that power, or infrastructure for the applications that power our daily lives. And we have AWS for Amazon, we have Microsoft Azure, we have Google Cloud. They're all there to provide you with the cloud services that are going to where you store your images, where you store your applications, all this. But that is what DevOps engineers and cloud specialists usually do. They're there to help you deploy your applications, make sure that you scale it really well. That is the reason why you can build an application right now that can handle 100,000 people using it simultaneously because of cloud computing. Now, when we talk about roles in tech, it doesn't end here. It doesn't really end here. There's we can talk about product and design. We have product managers. These are think of them as the people who guide teams in how they build a specific product. There are people who design the products that we use. There are people who provide support to users. Like think of tech support. There are many of these roles. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I'm sure you've already noticed by now, this is very overwhelming. Like these tech roles, there's so many of them, they're so overwhelming. So if you're not sure which path is going to fit you, you don't have to decide immediately, like I mentioned. Most people usually start with learning something like a general programming language, then they discover what they love and what they're into as they go. So you can do that by just exploring the introductory materials that you find. A simple basic coding course. I have a Python programming course on YouTube that you can go ahead and use. I have a web development course that you can go ahead and use. You can pick all of these things and get started really quickly. And for the what I'd also say here, as a recommendation as well, there are those people who are highly technical, right? Think of someone who started doing like engineering. They are like very technical in the things that they do. For those people, unless you'll decide on, or rather you'll go through this journey to decide what is the specific thing to pick. But if you're someone who is from a purely non-technical field, like you haven't done anything technical, but you're still very much interested in tech and you want to learn something about it, the easiest entry for you is software and web development. Like that is the easiest entry I'd recommend for anyone who they don't have any tech background. You've never done anything to do with tech. Tech seems like this alien thing to you, but you're still really interested. You want to learn about it. You start with something as simple as learning how to build websites, learning how to build applications. That is, it's a very good introductory. And then as you're doing it, you'll get to a point where you understand where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are. Based on that, you can pick something that is going to work for you. Okay, I hope this is clear for everyone. Now, the other thing is, if you're someone who is interested in data, of course, data science is good for you. If you're interested in security a lot, then you have cybersecurity for you. But that is what I'd give as a recommendation. The reason why I singled out those people who are highly technical, they've done engineering and all of those things, it's because that is someone who can pick any of these fields, given that the technical world they live in forces them to understand complex things and do them really fast. So if you're that kind of a person, then you still need to like really dig deeper to understand what to do. But even if you really don't know what to start with, do something general. Learn HTML and CSS, learn JavaScript, learn how to build websites, then build up most of your skills from there. For anyone, even if you're actually technical, pick just something specific, learn a thing and move on with it. Okay, nimeongea sana. Can you give me a thumbs up? There's a reaction there. I need reactions. I need reactions. I know I'm like giving you a lot of information, but nice. Nimepata thumbs up. There's so many emojis here that you can use. Uh, thank you. This is Juma. Juma, thank you. I needed to see some color across all of these things here. Yeah, for those who are raising their hands, we're going to get into a Q&A in the next few minutes. We're almost done talking about these things. The next bit that I want us to talk about is one of the most important bits, which is on roadmaps. So let me just switch the slide here. So how do you choose? We've already talked about this. So again, don't mind this chart that you see here. I just did it for fun, but we've talked about how to choose because there's so much to choose from. Now, there are different roadmaps, and these roadmaps, I'm going to go ahead and search here. This is, we use roadmap.sh. So I want you to make sure that you write it down. For those who are joining through TikTok, because you can't see what I'm sharing, just type in roadmap.sh. Okay, everyone can see this here. Now, this is one of the most important projects that exist on the internet for anyone who is into tech. This is one of the most important. It actually ranks about number 6 in the entire of GitHub, number 6 in terms of the most famous projects and that have more contributions and everything. But anyway, you need a roadmap to help you in learning something specific, right? So there is, for example, if you want to, I talked about software, there's the front end part, there's the back end part, there are people who want to be full stack. If you go to front end, you just click on front end here, you'll see a clear roadmap for front end. And it shows you how to get started. You need to understand how the internet works, right? Like, what is the history of the internet? How does the internet work? Whenever you type in something, you're trying to search, what happens until you get your results back. So it's very important. So it gives you very clear roadmaps, like from what you need to do from the beginning all the way to the end, right? I'm going to just show you a few of them quickly. So there's front end, there's back end, you can check, there's full stack, there's DevOps that we've mentioned, there's data analysis, there's AI. As you can see, there are all these things that you have that you can do every field. Like I said, there's so many roles in tech. Like there are so many, we can't cover all of them right now. But out of all these roles that you see here, you can pick one. So you can see there's computer science. So I'd recommend that you also do, like if you're, for those people again who are not sure what specific thing to start with, doing computer science is a good way for you to get, just to get your brain figuring out things around tech. So computer science introductory stuff, very interesting things that you can learn here. So we have these roadmaps. Let me just copy this link and send it here as well. I'm going to read all your questions later. I'm going to pin this as well. So you'll see the pinned message. The pinned message is on the roadmaps. So any roadmap that you want, if you already know what specific thing you want to do, any roadmap that you want, it's already here. Now, the good thing about this, actually, let me demonstrate this quickly. Let's say you want to pick front end. Again, front end is where you want to learn how websites are built, how the front end facing parts of applications are built. And when you come here, let's say you want to learn something like how does the internet work, right? This is one of the things that you have to understand. You need to make sure you understand how the internet works. When you click on it, it gives you a simple summary of how the internet works. But even more importantly, it gives you access to free resources. It shares links to all the free resources that you can use to learn. You can see there's all these textual resources. There's even a video on YouTube that you can go watch. This is one of the most important things that you can do. So the reason, again, I'm sharing this to you, there's all these free resources that you can use to learn. And then we have everything else that is shown there as well. Okay, we're done with this part. Let's go back to our slides. So that is how you get all these roadmaps for all these roles that you see here. You go to roadmap.sh, roadmap.sh. Okay, again, I'm iterating on that to make sure that you've gotten it correctly. Now, let's go to some of the most important bits as well. I talked about one of the reasons that you can get into tech is because of, the money is good in tech. I can tell you that for sure. The money is good. But one of the other things is career growth and personal growth, right? You need, for example, if you're someone who is switching a career, let's say you are a teacher, you can be doing anything that is not tech related. Actually, let me tell you a simple story. A few years ago, about 2 years ago, there's a place where I used to pass through like so many times. And then there's this guy who works, or rather worked in security. He was literally the guy at the gate who, you understand the people work in security at the gate. And then because somehow he knew me and he knew what I was doing. So I don't know how he did that, but he asked me, like one day, like in the morning, about 7 a.m., I was passing through that place. He called me and he's like, "Oh, hi, I know what you do, and I'm really interested in learning about programming." And it was like the company where I work at, so where he was manning the gate, the company told me, "This is a tech company, and I want to move." And because it's a tech company, if I upskill, I want to upskill without even my boss knowing. If I upskill, I can go and approach them. They can even give me an internship. I'll get, of course, switch my career quickly and all that. I was like, yeah, for sure. Like, I liked the initiative that he had. So, of course, I helped him find resources on everything to get to learn. He started learning. And I'll tell you, 8 months later, about 8 or 10 months later, he already knew how to build websites. He understood all these web development and basics, rather foundational software development skills. And he built even projects, had a portfolio. He approached the boss at the company he was working at. He was like, "I know I work at security, but I've been doing something on the side for quite a while. This is what I've been doing. I've been writing code. These are my projects." Let me tell you, the boss was very impressed. And the guy now told him, like, I want to get a new role. Can you hire me as an intern? I want to learn. Then if you feel like I'm really good, rather understand my things, you can give me a junior role. The boss was like, "I'm not even going to make you an intern. You're going to be a software engineer or like a junior software developer at my company." Literally like that. It was given about 3 weeks to get things in order. Of course, they had to find someone else, to hire someone else to work at the gate. They later found the person to work at the gate. About 3-4 weeks later, bro was a junior software developer, literally from manning the gate. Now, I'm telling you this story because you don't have an excuse. Like, this is someone who was manning the gate overnight, sometimes during the day, sometimes he'll go for 15 hours, but he was still able to build a career in tech. Right now, he's good. He's actually like, he's earning probably like 6-7 times what he was earning when he was starting. So if you're someone who is switching a career, you can, this is really good for your career growth, for your personal growth. If you feel like what you're making, what you're being paid, the 20,000 that are being paid at your role is not enough, and you want something more, you need to get started in this. So career growth is one of those things, right? Then, of course, we've talked about salary. Again, when you're working in tech, you earn relatively more than what an average person is going to earn. It doesn't matter. In Kenya, a lot of people in tech don't get paid as much, but it's still a lot more than what any other person earns, right? So salary is good. And then, of course, your return on investment after all these things is something that is super important. Now, how to make money in tech? You don't have to go and get a job. You can always get clients. A lot of people, the people who work in tech, or almost everyone I know, they have their day job and they're building an agency on the side. They're doing freelance work. They're building websites and applications for businesses. And that is how you make a little bit of money on the side, right? So you can be working at a job. Let's say you're working at some company in Nairobi. They're paying you 50, 80,000 a month. And then on the side, you get a client who you can build a website for, and they pay you another 50,000. You already, like, you see, you start making a little bit of money on the side. There are many ways. So you don't have to get a job. You can go and build your own agency, start offering the services to people. But that is how you grow in tech and grow your income as well. Now, it's very important for you to document what you're learning in tech. And I'm going to just mention this quickly. Whenever you're learning in tech, you need to document what you're learning. You document it by writing down. You can build articles and everything that you're doing. You can go ahead and, of course, teach people. So this can be in form of the people that you're learning with. teach them. You're already really good at what you're doing. We don't have enough people, especially in Africa and Kenya. I mentioned to you the problem in the beginning, where I told you that we have more than 42% of the world's young population is going to be from Africa by 2030. We don't have enough people to help all these people upscale. So if you're doing this and you know you are really good at what you're doing, then if you're someone who is passionate about educating people, this is something that you can do to help you document what you're doing and help other people learn a lot better. Then you can go ahead and create. So you do creation through, you can create YouTube videos to help people learn things. There are a lot of things that you can create in tech. Then building. So building is in terms of projects. The projects that you build are also a way for you to upscale. The projects you build are also a way for you to upscale. What is going on here? I think my live wants to end. These guys think I'm a robot for some reason, but anyway. So apologies for that delay, but anyway. So I was talking about building. Building is a way for you to document the things that you're learning. So think about this, and this is what I always tell all my students. Again, all the courses, there are always projects that they have to do at the end of every module that they are learning, every topic they are learning. There's always a project that you have to do that is there at the bottom. That project is a way for you to learn. The projects, the websites that you build, the applications that you build, the software that you build is a way for you to document what you're learning. You build, you share, you build, you share, you have it on GitHub, you have someone look at it. That way you're documenting, so that by the end of your 6 months, 12 months of learning, you have a solid resource that shows that you did that thing that you're claiming to do, that you've been doing. Okay, so building is super, super important in documenting. Now, the other thing is, I felt that it was very important. It was very much important for you to talk about this, which is how do you make and create the time for you to learn? The reason I mentioned this is because the people that we have joining here, there are some of them who are students. There are some of them who are already working. There are people who have families here. There are people who have other things, other commitments that they need to do. But at the end of the day, you have to create time for you to learn, right? Now, what you can see here, this is what I've created as the bare minimum for anyone who wants to get into tech. Like the number of hours that you have to spend every day for you to learn. This is the bare minimum. 1 hour, it's not enough. Oh, okay. My slides have switched. Let me go back. Okay, nice. So 1 hour, this is not enough. Like this is literally not enough for anyone, whether you have a family, you have all these other commitments. 1 hour is really not enough. You need to, and then for 4 hours, like this is when, again, when you're moving towards this direction, you're already spending enough time as it's required. What I always recommend for anyone who has many other commitments, you have work, you have family, you have businesses that you're running, but you're able to create some time. I usually recommend between 2 to 3 hours. This is the sweet spot. If you can dedicate 2 to 3 hours every day to learning, then you're good. Like it's enough time that if you do it repeatedly every day for 6 months to 6, 8, 12 months, you'll be at a position where you have grasped all the skills and you've built all the projects that you can now start working on your portfolio and applying to roles. This is the least amount of time. Now, to some of the other people, which is students, if you're especially university students, if you're a student or you also unemployed, you have enough free time. You have literally all day, like for you to do anything that you want. Then you should be spending north of 4 hours every day learning. Like 4 hours is not even enough. If you're a student who is doing a very demanding course, then 4 hours is good for you. So you need to spend so much time learning, and this is something that you have to build consistency every day. We'll talk about, I have to mention this as well. The number of time and then the time that you spend in learning code is very important, of course, but you need to make sure that you are progressing. Like don't get stuck where you're learning something new every day, but you're not seeing any progression, or you're learning the same thing every single day. That beats the whole point of learning. You always have to be learning something new, solving a new challenge every other day whenever you're doing all this. So you need to make sure that you are able to plan your day really well, plan your hours. If you're committed with work and family, spend an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening before you go to sleep, or 2 hours in the morning if you're good. but make sure that you do create the time for you to learn everything that you want. Okay, now I need reactions, because that is the end of my presentation. I have a lot more things that I can talk about, but I don't want to bore a lot of people here with too much information. And I do hope you've been taking some notes. Awesome. Now let's talk about, let's look at the questions. There are so many questions here. Let me see how many I can hear first before I allow you to ask, to open your microphones. You see any advice on how to get started in AI and automations? I've shared, I think, the roadmaps that you can use. If you want to learn about AI and automation, I'd recommend that you understand fundamentals first. Of course, you can always start learning how to build all these things with tools immediately, but I'd recommend that you learn the basic computer science fundamentals from the roadmaps that I shared there. That is going to help you. Then you can start building these automations later on. But you need to then pick at least a single programming language. Programming languages teach you how to think. Whenever you're doing all these things, you don't have to build a career out of it. Like literally, you don't have to build a career out of this. You can just learn it because you like a good challenge. You want to be more creative in what you're doing. It doesn't have to be that you're looking for money, that you want to build a career in it. So it's important that I mention that as well. For someone learning JavaScript, how can they incorporate AI in their learning process so that they can be proficient in JavaScript and AI at the same time? Okay, so I'd say okay, before that, I'm sure you guys have already seen this. I have a session next week, Sunday, on how to use AI in your learning, because I couldn't incorporate everything here really, but you can register for that using the link the link is in my TikTok bio and Instagram bio, you'll see it. But to quickly mention how I can incorporate AI, we have a study and learn features in all the AI tools that you use. So let me use an example of Gemini. Let me open Gemini here quickly. So if you go to Gemini, it has this, let's see. Okay, let me share this tab. So you can see this is my Gemini interface. So if you go to tools, it has an option here for guided learning, right? I know the font is really small, but I'm sure you can see that. It has an option for guided learning. This is so you can see here, walk me through how to solve a tricky math problem, walk me through everything. You just tell it and then it guides you on how to learn. The same thing applies with ChatGPT. When you go to ChatGPT, it also has a study and learn feature that you can use. So this helps you. Okay, I have to log in. I don't want to log in, but if you go to the plus sign on ChatGPT, it has a study and learn feature. Whenever you want to ask something, you just study and learn, and then it's going to walk you through it. It doesn't just throw a poor answer to you. It explains to you why that is the answer. Then it asks you questions. It gives you a challenge to do. It's like super creative in terms of how it does it. So that is how a creative way that you can use to learn all this. Then of course I can always talk about NotebookLM. I talk about it all the time because it's actually my favorite AI tool for learning out there. But you can also go check that out as well. If you go to my bio on TikTok, I have a playlist on AI tools and AI resources. If you go there, you're going to find all the videos where I explain most of these things. Then if you don't mind, kindly show us the CS50. Okay, someone has already shared a link on this, so you can use that. Learning how to code. I need to show you guys my YouTube quickly, just so that you all understand what I'm talking about. And I talk about resources on my YouTube. Learning how to code can be overwhelming, especially if you're someone who is employed in 9 to 5. What is the best advice you can give for such individuals? Teddy, I think I've already addressed that question as well. So you can allocate the hours. The other way for someone who is employed or someone who doesn't have enough free time is you need to get a mentor to help you in learning. So you can get a mentor to just make sure that you always stay on toes for accountability purposes all the way. So this is my YouTube. Again, if you haven't subscribed, then make sure you subscribe. It's just Bonaventure Ogeto or Bona Ogeto. It's here. Anyway, you'll notice I have a JavaScript programming series. I have a Python programming series. We use JavaScript for building websites. And then we use Python for, of course, data science and for backend, building backends of applications. I have a series on web development foundations. So you can see it here as well. I have data structures and algorithms. This is for anyone who has already done programming, and then they want to understand it a little bit deeper on how to solve problems. But for anyone who is starting, there's web development foundation. I recommend you start with this one, then go to JavaScript, and then other videos are going to drop. There's, of course, a Python programming course here for beginners as well that you can use. But make sure you subscribe. Like, make sure you do. Yeah. Let's go back to some of the questions that you have again. Those slides are good. Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Henry. I really tried to create the slides. Okay, let's see. In my workplace, we use Excel, and the one who created all of them. How can I automate this? This one. Yes, this is Salah. Yeah, so you can be able to automate what you're doing. If you want to, there's you need to learn about AI agents. AI agents are a good way for you to automate these things quickly, but for you to make it scalable so that you can end up, building a career, like a really strong career out of what you're doing, I'd recommend that you go and learn about data, do data science, do basic data analysis. That is going to help you. Like you'll be really, really valuable at the work that you're doing, because it looks like you collect a lot of data that you can be able to help your company and your workplace, project and predict what they're going to do later on. You can help them understand the gaps that exist within the business or the work that they do. So I'd recommend you do data. Then there's a Python. I start with the Python. Like for you, start with the Python programming course I have on YouTube. Do that end to end. Once you are done, you can always, of course, reach out and I'll walk you through what you need to do next. But yes. So for you, you need to understand the basic data analysis will be really, really valuable for you at your workplace. How do you feeling of burnout? So just a few methods. Burnout. I'd say you need to, there's the basic things that everyone will tell you. Make sure that you get enough sleep. Make sure that you take breaks and everything. But honestly, this is whenever you're committing to do this, and I know it can be a bit of an issue to other people, but whenever you're committing to this, you're committing yourself to a life of lifelong learning and a life of committing. Like it's a life that can literally disconnect you from everything else around you. You just need to make sure that you, of course, keep a good social life and a good social circle around you to help you, like pull off some steam, like blow off some steam or something. Yeah, on the weekend, just to take a few breaks here and there. But this is something that is going to force you to go through everything else. So how to deal with burnout? I'd say you just need to look at how you manage the things that you're doing. Like there's a point where you can be doing something and you feel like you are literally pushing yourself too much beyond what you're supposed to do. Then you can take a short break and go back at it again. But honestly, I am one of those people who do not have a really good solution for burnout, because my philosophy is that whenever you're committing yourself to this life, it is a life that is going to force you beyond what everyone else is doing. You're going to sacrifice a lot for you to get the most out of it. And burnout is one of those things. But even when you feel burnt out, you still push through it. But I wouldn't say I feel like it requires a bit of more psychological answer to it. But it's a life, whenever you choose this life, it is a life where you have to push yourself beyond the normal limits of what you do. Okay. I'm just enrolled in data science from work to assess the assignments to family too much. Yeah, so you'll be able to manage. You'll be able to manage the schedule that you have. It is a lot. I like that I do agree with everyone, sympathize with everyone here. It is a lot, but these are some of the sacrifices that you have to make in what you're doing. But just make sure you create some time for yourself. I'd say that's what I always try to do as well. And make sure that every week I create some time for myself, to go out, meet friends, to go and just take a walk, do a workout, like do something. Just create some time for yourself. That will be able to help you, put everything into perspective. Okay, so I'd say that's as many questions I can handle for now for the meeting. Anyone who has any extra questions, I'm going to stay live on TikTok for the next 20 minutes probably before I end it and prepare for my week, for my long week ahead. Oh yeah, I need to see if there's anyone else who wants to make a comment. So I'm going to go ahead and enable, where is it? I'm going to enable you to, I'm going to enable you to ask any questions that you want to ask. I'm going to also just stop the recording here for now. Awesome. Wait, I stopped the presentation instead of the recording. Okay.